Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is neglected by family trained by Gogeta. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by TentailedJackalofDoom and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. The blonde-haired boy of about 6 could be seen sitting on the roof of a building, his legs curled up to his chest, with his arms wrapped protectively around them. This boy had deep blue eyes that had tears spilling out of the sides. The boy was dressed in a raggedy white shirt with an orange flame on the front and torn blue shorts. On his feet were very poor blue sandals. This 6-year-old boy had tan skin with 3 whisker-shaped marks on each side of his face. This boy is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, the twin brother of Namikaze Uzumaki Mito, and son of Namikaze Minato and Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina. He was also the god brother of Hada Kakashi and Hada Rin. Naruto was curled up on this roof because he had just overheard Minato and Kushina talking about giving Mito his place as heir to both clans. This would meant that he was being kicked out of the clan, forced to fend for himself. This all started when he and Mito were born. That night the Kyuubi no Kitsune had escaped from the seal on Kushina and attacked the village. Minato, wanting to save the village hidden in the leaves, went to battle with the Kyuubi and somehow with the help of the Shinigami, sealed one half of the Kyuubi into Mito while sealing the other half inside of Kushina so that she could survive. The strange part was that the Shinigami didn't take the soul of Minato and just left. Minato, seeing this, announced what had happened and the villagers instantly started to worship Mito as their hero. Naruto was soon nothing but an afterthought as Mito was getting all of the training, all of the love, and on their shared birthday got all of the attention. Naruto had once asked to be trained and his response was a slap to the face by Minato and being sent to his room without any food by Kushina. Most of the village ignored his very existence except for Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Mikoto, Senju Tsunade, Yuzuki Uago, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Mitarashi Anko, Yuhi Kurenai, and Hyuga Hitomi. He, turning his sai upwards, set his eyes on the full moon above him. He gained wide eyes when he heard a male voice ask, "What are you doing outside at this time of a night, kid?" Naruto, turning his head, felt his eyes widen even more, spotting a tall man with spiky red hair, hard blue eyes and brown fur on his arms and around his chest. The man had on an open vest with an orange collar and black vest. He had on a blue sash around his waist that kept a pair of baggy white pants up. On his feet were black boots and flailing behind the man was a thick brown monkey tail. The man had a literal aura of power surrounding him and the man was looking up at the moon with him. The man, turning to look at him with a smirk on his face, asked, "I ask you a question, kid?" Naruto, shaking his head, said, "I'm out here at this time of night because my parents decided to make my sister the heir to the clans and kick me out of said clans." The man, hearing the way Naruto spat out parents, said, "I take it you don't like your family." Naruto, looking back at the moon, said, "Not my parents or my god siblings. I do love my sister though, as she is innocent and isn't to blame for anything." The man, laughing at this statement, said, "Kid, that's very insightful of you." He then, turning to look at Naruto, said, "Alright, enough chatter. My name is Gogeta and I have been sent by someone who is itching to meet you." Naruto, hearing this, couldn't say another word as he was lifted up by Gogeta and hefted on the man's shoulders. Gogeta, floating into the air, said, "Come on, kid, I don't have all day." He then vanished in a massive flash of power, purposely dropping the shirt Naruto had been wearing along with the shoes. Seconds later, a large group of men and women arrived, all wearing animal masks. The gray-haired man, spotting the shirt, picked it up and sniffed it. His eyes widened, recognizing the scent. He, turning to the rest of his group, said, "This is the shirt Naruto was dressed in, as it has his scent all over it. Spread out and find him." The other Anbu, nodding, did exactly as told. He then, teleporting to the home of his sensei, arrived just in time for Kushina to explode in anger and scream, "Naruto, you get down here this instant." Kakashi, hearing this, blinked and narrowed his eyes. Minato, sighing, was about to calm down his wife when he spotted Kakashi. Getting up, he asked, "What's wrong, Kakashi?" Kakashi, showing the shirt to Minato, said, "Hokage-sama, this shirt was found at the location of a large energy source. I sniffed the shirt and identified it as Naruto's. I have my Anbu team out searching for him now." Minato, hearing this, felt his eyes widen hearing this and felt Kushina appear beside him. Kushina, spotting the shirt, felt her eyes widen at the state of the shirt. She then, shaking her head, said, "That's not his shirt. He would never wear something like that." Kakashi was about to speak when Uchiha Itachi appeared in front of him with his Sharingan eyes blazing. He, grabbing Kakashi by the shirt, asked, "What's this I hear from my fellow Anbu about you losing track of Naruto?" Kakashi, removing himself from Itachi's grip, said, "Crow, you need to calm down." Itachi growled at this and said, "No, I need to be more upset. I was all set to watch Naruto after watching him leave the Namikaze mansion with a heartbroken look in his eyes, but you told me that you would be watching him. Now I find out he's vanished or worse." Kakashi was about to say something when the ground literally started to tremble. Everyone was wondering why when the front doors were blasted open to reveal a pissed-off Senju Tsunade with murder clear in her eyes. She marching over to Kakashi lifted the man up by his collar and growled out, "Hada Kakashi, I'm gonna beat the ever-living shit out of you for letting Naruto vanish from your sights." Minato stepping up and trying to save his student was then subjected to a glare from Tsunade. She dropping the terrified Anbu said, "And you? You stupid son of a bitch. You were going to make Mito the fucking heir of both clans and kick Naruto out, you little bastard." Minato felt his eyes widen as he asked, "How do you know about that?" Tsunade snarling said, "You fucking idiot, Naruto told me all about the conversation he overheard with you and Kushina." Minato felt his blood chill and the air leave his body. Kushina's eyes were circles and she was trembling. Kushina whispered out, "He heard." Tsunade turning her murderous eyes on Kushina said, "Damn right he heard. He came running to me when he heard you two giving his birthright to Mito. He was heartbroken." Itachi was now glaring at the two of them. Minato shaking said, "We were going to make Mito-chan the heir of the clans and move Naruto to the side family." Tsunade snarling said, "You fucking idiot. The side family is nothing but a bunch of slaves to the main family, much like the damn Hyuga clan." Kushina said, "We would never turn him into a slave." Itachi snorting said, "Just like you'd never abandon one child for the other." Minato shaking his head said, "Never." Tsunade then asked, "Really then? Tell me, when's the last time you trained Naruto? What was the last thing you bought Naruto? When was the last time you smiled at him?" Minato and Kushina couldn't come up with a single answer. Itachi snorting said, "Exactly as I thought." He then turned around and walked towards the door and was leaving, but not before he said, "Congratulations on becoming parents to an only child, Hokage-sama, Kushina-sama." He then left in a murder of crows. Tsunade walking out the door said, "I hope you're happy, idiots. I'm leaving in 2 weeks and I'm taking Shizune with me. I will not live in the village that ignored a little boy just because he didn't have a tailed beast sealed inside of him. Don't expect me to come back until Naruto comes back, if he ever does." She then stormed out. Minato and Kushina slowly dropped to their knees and both started to feel emotional pain at what they had done to their only son. Kushina was the first to break as she started to sob very loudly. This was followed by Minato letting silent tears trail down his face. Gogeta and Naruto appearing in a room looking much like the bedroom of some spoiled brat or a member of a royal family. Gogeta dropping Naruto down on the bed saluted and said, "My job here is done, kid. Hopefully I'll see you again someday. Until then, be good, kid." Gogeta then vanished, leaving Naruto alone in the room. Naruto, trying to climb out of the bed, stopped when he heard the door creak open. Turning his head, he gasped, spotting a very beautiful woman walk into the room, another woman behind her looking very apprehensive. The first woman had long flowing golden hair with twin bangs falling gently over her face. Her face was shaped like a heart and not a flaw could be seen. Her eyes were a light teal, her pupils being surrounded by what looked like 6 commas. Her nose was button-like and her lips were plump. On said lips a thin layer of black lipstick could be seen. She had the perfect frame that was dressed in a pitch black kimono. Naruto could see that she was holding the other woman's hand. The other woman had long black hair that Naruto swore he could see stars twinkling in. Her face was heart-shaped and the only flaw Naruto could see was the slit in the middle of her forehead. Her eyes were this mysterious purple that seemed to radiate her anxiety. Inside of the eyes Naruto could make out the shape of the moon. This one seemed skinnier than the other, but at the same time she still was leaking an insane amount of power. The first woman spotting him smiled and said, "He's here and he looks so adorable trying to climb off of his future bed." The other woman looking at him said, "Kami, you're terrifying him." Kami pouting said, "Nina, you're ruining my fun without future child." Naruto was now very confused. Nina sighing grabbed Kami's hand and led her to the bed Naruto was sitting on. Once seated she smiled at the very confused Naruto and said, "As you most likely have guessed, my name is Nina. I used to be 2 separate beings. The first being the primordial goddess of the night Nyx, with the second being Tsukiyomi, the goddess of the moon. We were forcibly fused together in order to unite the divine rule in a dimension. After removing the evil in that world and appointing someone as my fill, and I came to this dimension where I meet and feel in love with your goddess Kami and the human woman Uchiha Kira. After teaching the two of them how to fuse and making them swear not to do so, I returned to check on my home universe." Kami giggling said, "We were going to keep the promise until Kira was at death's door due to an ambush attack by a group of rogue Senju. You see, Kira was the younger sister of Madara Uchiha and Izuna Uchiha was her older brother. Anyway, she was on death's bed, slipping into the never-ending nightmare when she begged Kami to fuse with her so that she wouldn't have to leave the woman she loved and could watch over her brothers. Kami accepted and the two fused to create me, Kami." Nina shaking her head at this said, "I returning back from my visit was shocked and appalled at the turn of events, but I listened to Kami explain the reasons for her creation. I then hugged her and Cammy asked me to marry her. I accepted and we became a couple. The sad thing was due to an accident neither of us could conceive a child and even when we did it would never carry to the full term. We even tried placing a child inside of a woman, hoping that she would carry it to full term for us. It worked but the child didn't come out like we had hoped. This child is now an infamous missing ninja of the village hidden in the leaves. His name is Orochimaru. Luckily once we saw what path he was walking down, we terminated his godly ties and eradicated his immortality. We after that decided that we would just adopt a child, but not just any child. Amy smiling said a child with a pure heart, one who would appreciate our gifts, someone who would train hard to earn what we give it. A child who, and I don't mean to be rude, but one who wasn't exactly special and whose parents weren't paying attention to him and who could see the good in everything and everyone. Nina spotting the hurt in his eyes said what Cammy is trying to say is that we wanted to pick a child truly worthy of becoming our child. She then gently placing a hand on his face said, you are that child. That's why we went he became what he was to save his world sent Gogeta to pick you up and deliver you to us. Cammy then hitting him full blast with the puppy dog eyes asked will you please allow us to be your parents and turn you into our godly child. Naruto biting his lip asked will you love me unconditionally. Nina nodding said until the end of time. He then asked would you train me in everything I wanted to learn. Cammy said that and more. Naruto with one final question asked would you help me accomplish my dreams and nourish my hopes. Nina with a gentle smile on her face said all of your dreams and hopes would come true and every thought you have would be nourished to the point of looking like a fat cow. Naruto hearing this smiled and said I accept then. He was then pulled into a deep hug by Cammy. He felt Nina join the hug not seconds later and he felt really warm for some reason. Minutes later he was standing in a weird chamber wearing just his shorts. He was standing in what looked like a blue circle. Looking around him he could see hundreds of circles surrounding him. He then heard Cammy say alright Naru-chan in order for you to be as powerful as you want, we're gonna have to a massive fusion. You will be the center of the fusion and hopefully will be the dominating personality. He blinked hearing this. Nina then said we are going to summon the many different versions of you and they are going to be placed inside of one of the circles. This will include both dark and light versions of yourself. I will not lie to you baby this will most likely be the most painful and time-consuming thing you ever do, but we promise you it will be worth it Naru-chan. Cammy then asked are you ready baby? Naruto taking a deep calming breath nodded and said, let's do this. Nina then said here we go. Naruto blinked when the chamber came alive with lights. He then felt his eyes widen when the circles around him started filling with versions of him. The circles somehow stretched to accommodate the size of the different versions of him. This was the case when a giant tan-tailed jackal version of himself appeared in one of the circles of course sleeping. In the circle beside it a purple and female version of himself appeared. He turning to the left could see a version of himself that had white hair and dark blue eyes. This version was also dressed in very regal looking white robes. The coolest thing about this version was the huge white wings and the awesome dragon tail. He looking further back could see a version of himself with silver skin and blood red eyes. There was even a pink version of him with black eyes. The last version of him to appear looked like him except for the fact that it had fangs and was draining the blood from a person at the very moment. He then heard Cammy whistle and say that's a hell of a lot of Naru-chans. Nina impressed herself said indeed it is. Now to start the fusion process. Naru-chan stay completely still during this as one wrong move and you're erased from existence. Retreat to your mind if you must. Naruto blinked when suddenly all of the other Narutos started to glow white and burning pain started to spread through his body. He quickly retreated to his mind and his body stood stock still as the fusion started. Nina seeing this turned to Cammy and said, it's gonna be a while until it finishes. Now that we have the time let's decide on how we're going to raise our new child. Cammy hearing this said I say we raise him to be a kind but powerful ruler who takes no shit and isn't afraid to crack his skull open to get his point across. Nina rolling her eyes said I think we should raise him to be a warrior of noble and royal beginnings with a strict code of honor and a slight bloodlust. Cammy shaking her head said no, we should raise him to be a bloodthirsty kingpin who has his hands in every aspect of the criminal world. Nina shaking her head said no, we should raise him to be the very voice of nature itself and a defender of the weak who cares not for criminals or heroes. Cammy shaking her head said, we should raise him to be a sex-driven fiend who kills what makes him angry and fucks what makes him happy. Nina with a blush on her face said, we should raise him to be a ghost. His movements will be legendary and those who see him instantly fall in love with him because of his mysterious aura. Cammy giggling said we should raise him to be like Madara before he went crazy. Nina laughing said, we should raise him to be like the Sage of Six Paths. Cammy laughing said, we should raise him to be like Sasuke-san. Nina now doubled over with laughter said, we should raise him to be like Frieza. Amy, now rolling on the floor, said, "We should raise him to be like Zareth." Nina, now on the ground shaking in laughter, said, "We should raise him to be like Joker." Amy, with tears in her eyes, said, "We should raise him to be like Bowser." Both women then started to laugh very loudly at how much of a joke Naruto would be if they raised him to be like the looser king of Koopa. This laughter went on for an hour and a half. Nina, stopping her laughter, noticed that there was only one Naruto left standing. Standing up and helping Cammy up, she made her way to Naruto. She blinked, spotting him. His once short blonde spiky hair was now long and covering up most of his face. It was also black as the night and shined like a pearl or diamond. His one small round ears were now long and pointed much like an elf's. His skin was also light purple. From his right shoulder down to midway his bicep was a solid steel coating. His right had a small red orb in the middle of the palm, and his fingers were clawed. His left arm looked normal until you got to the hand. Like the right one, a small red orb was located in the palm. His hair fell over his neck also, but staring at his chest, you could the beginning of a female chest. The middle of his stomach was strange as it had what looked like a stitched up mouth there. His lower body looked the same, except for the single jaguar tail swaying behind him. This jaguar tail was not like normal tails as it had what looked like a jagged blade fused into it. Nina could see the ghostly image of over 1,000 other tails behind Naruto. Amy, then walking over to Naruto, pushed his hair out of his face. She blinked, spotting his flawless face as not even his former whisker marks was there. She lifting up his top lip, blinked, spotting the large fangs glistening in his mouth. She could easily tell that enough venom to take down a full-grown elephant was in each fang. She then, opening one of his closed eyes, blinked, spotting a jade green eye with the image of the stars. The pupil itself was a shining four-pointed star. She, closing that eye, opened up the other one and giggled, spotting a bright pink eye with 6 little commas surrounding his slitted pupil. Closing that eye, she gently picked up the unconscious Naruto up and said the fusion was a success, all he needs now is some rest. Nina, smiling, said, "To his room we go then. Also, as for how we're going to raise him, let's just go with what feels right." Cammy, nodding, said, "Deal." Once reaching his room, Cammy gently laid him down in his bed. Nina, tucking him in, turned on the lamp in the corner of the room. Both women then kissed him on the forehead and said, "Good night, Naru-chan. Let your dreams be peaceful and rest easy, because tomorrow we will be a family." Both women smiled brightly when Naruto whispered out, "Good night, moms." Both women then gently walked out of Naruto's room and headed towards theirs. Heading into bed, they snuggled into each other's arms and said, "Good night, love." Soon both women were slumbering peacefully, the entire house was now asleep. Chapter 2. The next morning, both women was woken up by the sound of loud explosions. This caused both of them to shoot up and run towards where the explosions were coming from. They felt their eyes widen, finding that Naruto's room was where the explosions was coming from. Amy, kicking down the door, blinked, spotting Naruto sitting on his bed, his leopard tail wrapped around his waist, staring at what looked like a 10-year-old girl crushing things in her hand. This girl had long flowing dark brown hair, dark red eyes with 3 black rings that had 9 black tomos sitting on each ring in groups of 3. She was dressed in a simple white dress with the kanji for God tree on her back. Cammy blinked, recognizing this girl as Shinju, the god tree given human form. Nina, ignoring Shinju, rushed to Naruto and started to check him for any injuries. After not finding any, she started to run her fingers gently through Naruto's hair, causing him to purr loudly. Cammy, hearing this, gained hearts in her eyes at how adorable her new child sounded right now. Nina, the one causing the purring, just giggled really loudly at how cat-like her godly child was sounding. Shinju, hearing the purring, turned to look at Naruto with wide, curious eyes. Said eyes widened, spotting how much power Naruto had and how much he could potentially unlock. Naruto himself was wondering what the hell was going on, as 1 minute he's exploring his new room and trying to find something to eat, the next some strange girl 4 years older than him is in his room destroying things with a crazy grin on her face. Then his mother's burst into his room with his new door being kicked down, and now he's purring like an oversized cat, and he liked it. Nina, as if somehow reading his mind, giggled and said, "Do you like it because of the jaguar inside of you? That's also the reason you're purring and why your hair is as soft as fur." Naruto, still purring, became even more adorable when he actually mewled. This action was his downfall, as Cammy, hearing this mewl, executed the perfected version of the flying glump of doom. Nina, hearing this, did the opposite of her wife and did the perfect version of the motherly smothering of pleasant death. Shinju herself felt every fiber in her being tell her to glump Naruto. So she did, and Naruto was now trapped between 3 females who found his mewl too adorable. Sadly, this got worse when Cammy accidentally grabbed his tail. This caused him to let out the strangled fusion of a mewl and a purr. This action caused all 3 girls to squeal and hug him harder to their bodies. This caused the poor boy to start turning blue instead of purple. Naruto, now not liking the fact that he losing air, used one of his new abilities and pushed all 3 females away with a purple dome of energy. He then gasping for air, glared at all three females and said never again. Cammy giggling said okay baby. Nina brushing her hair back laughed and said sure Sachi. Shinju tilting her head asked did you not like it? Naruto snorting said that's not the point. He then standing to his feet pointed at Shinju and asked who the hell are and why in Kyuubi's furry butt are you in my room? Shinju tilting her head said I am Shinju, who are you? Naruto blinking smiled brightly and said I'm Naruto I think. He then tilting his head said I could be Akami, Kyukitsuki, Rivan, Omega, Rishiram, Beelzebub, Lucifer, Draco, Lucy, Naruko, Megami, Red Egg, Shadow, Ultra, Godzilla, or Jill Valentine. He shrugging said, let's just go with Naruto for now, but later I'll have to sort through all these damn memories I got from the fusion, along with all of these weird feelings I now have for both genders. He shaking his head said plus I have to get over some of my alternate versions' extreme hatred of humanity. He then yawned revealing his teeth and asked do I get a new last name mothers? Nina giggling said yes you now have several new last names, but the one you should have no matter what form you decide to take is Senju. Naruto hearing this blinked and said Senju Naruto. Has a nice ring to it, plus this means that Tsunade Ba can say she's related to me. He then blinking asked by the way am I a god or something like that? Cammy giggling said, you are a god. In fact you have taken over the vacant spot for God of the Night and God of Monsters. Naruto hearing this asked mom aren't you still the boss of the night? Nina giggling said yes I am still the boss of the night, but I also control the moon. Be my baby will take over most of the duties involving the night. This doesn't mean that you're limited to the darkness, as you can use any of your powers no matter what. Naruto hearing this sighed in relief. Cammy then giggling said enough talking about work. Come on Naruto-chan it's breakfast time. Before he could say a word, he was being carried by an excited Cammy. Nina walking behind her wife was giggling into her hand. Shinju confused as ever walking behind the group. Arriving in the dining room, Naruto was sat down in a chair as Cammy sat down beside him. Nina sitting on the other side of him, blinked when Shinju climbed into the chair Naruto was sitting in and put him in her lap, which was quite odd as she was not too much bigger than him. Cammy giggling waved her hands and Naruto's mouth watered spotting all of the food in front of him. Nina giggling also clapped her hands and lots of drinks appeared by the barrel full. Shinju was now doing the same as Naruto. Cammy now snickering said go ahead baby, eat until you're full. Naruto hearing this was out of Shinju's lap in a flash and fixing himself a very large plate with mostly sweets and meat on it. He sitting down in Nina's lap, started to eat his plate, starting with his chocolate glazed ham. Nina spotting this motion for Cammy to take a picture. Cammy doing so giggled as the picture had Naruto literally tearing the ham apart. Shinju was also eating, she chewing on a piece of beef jerky. An entire hour later and Naruto was finishing off his fourth plate, his face covered in a layer of chocolate, honey, strawberry soda, and blueberry syrup. Shinju was laid out under the table trying to get her full belly to go down. Cammy having eaten a small plate of bacon and eggs, asked are you full Naru-chan? Naruto nodding quickly said I feel like a fat tick. Nina giggling said good baby, now your torture, I mean training can begin. Naruto hearing the slip up quickly wondered how painful his training was going to be. 2 hours later and Naruto was laid out in his training ground, Shinju curled up beside him, Cammy and Nina giggling in front of him. He looking up at giving the both of them a powerful glare, said I don't see nothing funny here mother. Nina giggling said you look so adorable all tuckered out, trying to give us a powerful glare while barely being able to lift up your head. Naruto couldn't argue her point, so he simply settled for laying his head back down, closing his eyes and ignoring everything around him. Cammy seeing this giggled even louder and said now he's gonna ignore everything like a pouting baby. He's so adorable. Nina shaking her head walked over to Naruto and picked him up. She nuzzling him said don't worry baby you'll get used to this training and in no time you'll be capable of going toe to toe with a fully realized Jinchuriki. Naruto snuggling into her warmth said it's okay mom, as long as I have the two of you everything will be alright. He then getting comfy said oh and Shinju-chan. As long as I have the three of you I'll be fine. Cammy hearing this smiled and said such a sweet little boy. You will be such a heartbreaker when you get older. She then picking up Shinju who snuggled into the warmth she radiated said instead of one child, we gained two. Shinju-chan and Naruto-chan. Nina hearing Naruto snoring lightly in her arms, said yeah and the two of them are inseparable and in a few years the elemental nations will shudder at the mere mention of just one of their names. Cammy nodding said yeah let's go place our little future S-rank shinobi in the healing tank. Nina nodding lead her wife to the healing chamber with a small smile on her face, already picturing the bright future ahead of their two children. 7 years later and Naruto was sitting on a branch of a tree as Shinju slaughtered another bandit camp. Naruto now 12 was very handsome and powerful. His hair was still long, but most of the time he had in a single braid, with one bang gently falling over his left eye. His light purple skin was now slightly darker as he was in the sun a lot. His eyes were pretty much the same, along with the rest of his body. The exception was that he now had 1000 jaguar tails, but they were all fused into a single one that, unlike before, looked like your normal jaguar tail. He was dressed in something much like Gogeta was wearing, except he had on 2 black gloves with the Senju clan symbol on the back of said gloves. The vest was also closed and stopped just above his waist. He also wore no shoes, instead showing his bare feet. His toenails were painted black though. He blinked when Shinju appeared in front of him. At 16 not much had changed about Shinju, besides the fact she now had D-cup breast and was still taller than him. She was coated in the blood of the bandit she had just killed, but had a large grin on her face. Naruto, somehow knowing what was coming, moved back just as Shinju tried to pull him into a kiss. Shinju, not feeling Naruto kissing her, growled and said, "Kiss me, Naruto-kun." Naruto, standing to his feet, said, "Not happening until you get cleaned up." Shinju, growling louder, said, "I want to kiss you now." Naruto, jumping down, set all of the dead bandits on fire and said, "I refuse to kiss you until you're clean, as I do not fancy cleaning blood off of myself." Shinju, growling more, jumped down and said, "It's gonna take me forever to clean myself up." Naruto, rolling his eyes, said, "Shinju, stop arguing and go cleanse yourself of the blood covering your body." Shinju, growling, teleported to the nearest river to clean herself. Naruto, rolling his eyes, said, "She's such a big baby." He, sighing, put the fire out and made his way towards the nearest town to collect the bounty. He was about halfway there when Shinju appeared all cleaned up. She had an expectant look on her face. Smiling, he kissed her on the side of her face and grabbed her hand. Laughing at the happy smile on her face, he said, "Come on, love, time to collect our bounty for the bandits." Shinju, now smiling, asked Naruto-kun, "When do we become true shinobi?" Naruto, smiling, said, "After this bounty. We'll go join the nearest ninja village." Shinju, hearing this, blinked and said, "Naruto-kun, we're in the land of fire, that means we're going to join the village hidden in the leaf." Naruto, hearing this, blinked and said, "Most likely Shinju-chan." Shinju then asked, "What are you going to do once we join or go there?" Naruto, shrugging his shoulders, said, "Nothing. I'm a new person now and nothing is going to change that." Shinju, moving closer to him, asked, "Are you going to listen to what your mom said about you needing a huge harem?" Naruto, gaining an atomic blush on his face, sputtered out, "Why would I listen to them about that, you huge hentai?" Shinju, giggling, said, "Because you listen to what they say most of the time and will most likely follow their advice on this one." She then, breathing on his pointed ears, said, "Plus you know that I'm bisexual and will eventually seek out a female body to keep me warm at nights along with your body." Naruto's face could now put a tomato to shame, keep in mind thought that his skin was purple. He, walking into the town, with his face still crimson, talked the person who had hired them to take down the bandits. He smiled when the woman hugged him very tightly for saving her village. She then handed him the sheath to the sword promised along with the money. He, smiling at how the kids were looking at him and Shinju like heroes, decided to give a little show of his powers. Handing Shinju the sword and money, he walked to the middle of the village. Closing his eyes, he tapped into his powers. Raising both of his hands, he smiled when something large and powerful burst from the ground and gasp was heard. Opening his eyes, he smiled, spotting the very beautiful, very powerful, very large tree in front of him. He smiled when the children glomped him and started to beg for him to show them something else cool. He entertained the children for a little while before he and Shinju said goodbye and left the village. Naruto, once they were out of the village, pulled out a cherry lollipop. Carefully unwrapping it, he put it in his mouth. He sighed in bliss as the sweet sugary relief flooded his system. Shinju, spotting this, giggled and said, "You're addicted to sweets, Naruto-kun." Naruto, glaring at her, said, "No, I am not." Shinju, giggling, said, "No need to get upset, Naruto-kun, I love that you have a huge sweet tooth." Naruto, snorting, could feel smoke blow out of his nose. Shinju, spotting said smoke, giggled more and said, "Even your smoke has a sweet smell." Naruto, deciding to ignore her, started to whistle a haunting yet luring melody. Shinju, hearing this, felt her eyes glaze over as this what Naruto called his nature song. For some reason all natural things, including some humans, would be drawn to him. Shinju was no exception because she was basically a tree given human form. The reason Naruto did this was to summon his loyal pet from his mother's. Shinju was snapped out of her trance when a loud screech was heard. Naruto, smiling, said, "Come to me, Kurara." The sky above darkened and the world swore eclipse was happening. The eclipse vanished, a huge shadow appeared above Naruto. He, looking up, smiled, spotting what looked like the perfect fusion of a shark and a dragon. It was pitch black with large slitted red eyes. Down its back spikes could be seen. Its huge wings were helping it stay in the air. It had 6 arms, with shark-like fins at the elbows. Naruto, reaching up, scratched the mighty beast behind its head and said, "Kurara-chan, you are the best present mother has ever gotten me." The beast let out a noise and nuzzled his hand. He, smiling, said, "You're not like Shinju who teases me for my addiction to sweets. You're not like Zilla-chan who only wants to eat fish and destroy my things. You're not like Alice who always digs giant rabbit holes that I often find myself falling in. You're the perfect pet. Shinju hearing this scowled and said I am not a pet. Naruto nodding said correct, you are my mega perverted girlfriend who also happens to be a god tree that produces fruit every 1000 years. Shinju now pouting said I'm also 4 years older than you are and have big breasts that you love to nuzzle when we sleep together. Naruto with a small blush on his face said that's exactly why Kurara-chan is my favorite of all of my girls. Kurara bellowed hearing this, easily happy hearing him say this. Shinju with a twitching eyebrow said watch it you future snack. Kurara roared this time and glared at Shinju. Naruto already knowing what was about to happen, climbed on Kurara's back and said ignore her Kurara. Transport me to Konoha. Kurara was about to roar again when Naruto put a handful of gummy worms in her mouth. She licking her lips bellowed in happiness and with a mighty flap of her wings took off into the sky, increasing her already large form until she easily could be mistaken for Comet. Shinju spotting this pouted and said Naruto-kun is always ruining my fun. She then gained wide eyes as she realized that he had left her. She cursing started to chase after the dragon and snoozing Naruto. In the village hidden in the leaves, it was just like any other day as Minato struggled to tackle his paperwork while trying to get over the disappearance of his only son. He was also trying to think of a way to fix his ruined relationship with his now ex-wife Kushina. Kushina had divorced him when she came home from a rather stressful mission to find him in bed with Haruno Mibiki. He shivered as he could still remember the beating she put on the both of them. If that wasn't bad enough, she then informed the rest of the village what had happened and now every female he tried to talk to glared at him, including his own daughter and the Kunoichi. He was about to sigh when a Chunin appeared in his office with wide terrified eyes. He seeing this asked what's wrong. The Chunin turning around pointed outside. Minato looking gained wide eyes spotting something huge heading towards the village. He trying to feel out the chakra of whatever was coming literally shit a brick as whatever was heading towards the village had 20 times more chakra than the Kyuubi. He standing up gained a serious face and said get everyone ready to fight for the village. The Chunin nodding did as he was told. Minato teleporting to the front of the gates, pulled out 2 of his special kunai and got ready. He felt the others arrive seconds later ready to die for the village. He spotting Kushina tried not to stare at her gorgeous body, but she hadn't let time to get to her. He was about to speak when his eyes widened feeling a just as large chakra signature following the first one. He was about to curse when it got dark suddenly. He and the others looking up felt their blood run cold spotting Kurara above them. She sitting down, let out a roar. Everyone blinked when an entire bag of gummy worms appeared in front of her. She snapping her jaw shut on the bag, started to chew happily. They then heard a voice that made many of the females grow weak in the knees say, just as I was saying you're the perfect pet. You love sweets just as much as I do. Kurara-chan I love you. Kurara smiling let out a happy noise. Minato's eyes turned to the second chakra signature that had just arrived. He spotting a 16-year-old girl with an angry glare in her eyes, was about to ask a question when the girl glared at Kurara and said, you did that on purpose you stupid future snack. Kurara now glaring back at Shinju roared. Shinju gaining flames in her eyes rolled up her sleeves and asked you wanna say that again you overgrown lizard. Kurara roared again and held her head high as if saying that Shinju was nothing but a commoner. Shinju hearing and seeing this roared and said that's it. I don't care what he says. I'm turning you into food. She was about to attack Kurara when she was suddenly forced to the ground by an immense intent to kill. Everyone was forced to their knees and Kurara was actually whimpering. The voice from before asked Shinju-chan what have I told you about fighting with Kurara in front of people. Shinju with visible fear in her eyes and sweat pouring down her face said you told me to never fight with Kurara-san in front of people. The voice then jumping down from the back of Kurara revealed itself to be a scowling Naruto who asked then why in the hell were you about to attack Kurara? Shinju gulping said I wasn't about to attack her. I was going to give her a nice friendly hug. Naruto snorting said you and I both know that you're lying through your teeth, but I let it slide this time. He then turning to Kurara ignoring the relief on Shinju's face, said Kurara-chan return to the garden. Send Zilla-chan and do tell her that she'd better be in her smaller form. Also tell Alice that if I return to my beautiful garden to find it full of holes and all of my vegetables consumed by her, she's getting put through training session 43 with mother. Kurara actually whimpered even louder hearing this. Naruto rolling his eyes, reaching into his pocket revealing 2 more bags of candy and tossed them to Kurara who consumed both bags and vanished. Naruto crossing his arms held up a finger to silence any questions. A minute later a beast looking like a dragon or dinosaur appeared. It had reddish-orange scales. Its large slitted eyes were nuclear yellow. It had 5 fingers with sharp black claws. Running down its back were sharp spikes. Its tree trunk-like tail was hitting the ground. The beast was about as tall as a tree. Naruto spotting the beast sighed and said Zilla-chan you're still too big. Shrink down to about my size. The beast nodding shrunk down to just a little taller than him. Naruto smiling at this pulled out a red salmon and tossed it to the beast who chomped down on it. He then turning to the people of Konoha bowed and said hello, my name is Senju Valentine Naruto. The beautiful creature beside me is Valentine Zilla, my lovely pet from one of my mothers. He standing back up turned to Zilla and said say hi Zilla-chan. Zilla let out a small roar. Naruto then turning to Shinju said, this lovely young lady is my girlfriend Otsutsuki Shinju. Shinju did a quick bow and said hello. Minato hearing their names felt his eyes widened as these two were quite famous for wiping out bandit camps. Hell, the boy was said to be able to create trees just like the first did. He quickly realized that if he could get the two of them to join Konoha, they would gain two powerhouses. Minato putting on his best smile asked why are you two here? Shinju rolling her eyes said it's obvious sir. We're here to become shinobi. He hearing this said you can become a kunoichi, but he has to attend a year of the academy so that he'll be 13 when he graduates like the rest. Shinju crossing her arms under her breast said or you can test him against anyone you choose and when he defeats them, you make him a jonin. Minato hearing this agreed as he couldn't feel an ounce of chakra coming from Naruto. He then signaling for Kakashi said, your opponent will be Kakashi and your test will be in a day. Until then the two of you are free to explore the village. He then turned around and flashed back to his office, never noticing that Shinju was cackling like an evil genius. Naruto ignoring his cackling girlfriend looked at Kakashi and said I suggest you start training now Inu-san, as even if I had both my eyes closed and one hand tied behind my back, I'd still be able to kill you with a twitch of my fingers. He then turning to Zilla smiled and said come Zilla-chan, let's go find you a lake to hunt and live in. Zilla roaring nuzzled his head. Naruto turning to the still cackling Shinju said come on love, as your punishment for earlier is to help find Zilla a suitable place to settle down in. Shinju hearing this blanched and said Naruto-kun that stupid radioactive iguana is 10 times pickier than you are and it took you a month to figure out what you were going to wear for our first date. Naruto smirking said good point. Zilla-chan take your precious time and pick the right place. Tu-san will fix it up so that you can lay your eggs without fear of being attacked there. Pa-san will make sure there's plenty of fish for you to eat. Wouldn't want you to die from starvation. Zilla roared in happiness and took off running, with a crying and yelling Shinju right behind her. Naruto laughing pulled out a blueberry lollipop, unwrapped it, put it in his mouth and slowly followed after Shinju and Zilla while whistling a happy tune. Chapter 3. The next day, all of Konoha was gathered in the arena as today Naruto faced off against Kakashi who was down on the field reading his smut. Naruto himself was chewing on a few gummy worms. Minato appearing in the middle of the field said okay we have had a Kakashi versus Senju Valentine Naruto. This match is to determine if Naruto can become a jonin like his girlfriend Shinju. The rules are no killing blows. The added stipulation is that Kakashi would give up his smut if he lost and Naruto will subject himself to a full interrogation. Do you both understand? Naruto yawning said can we hurry this up, I haven't had my morning lollipop. Kakashi putting his book away, revealed his trump card and said ready. Minato nodding started the match and moved to the cage box. Kakashi cracking his knuckles asked how did you know that I was once a Anbu? Naruto shaking off his sleepiness said I used to live here way back when I was 6, Crow or Itachi used to watch over me all the time, along with my dear sweet grandmother Senju Tsunade. Naruto smirking said if you haven't figured it out yet, allow me to inform you that I was once Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, the child without a tailed beast sealed inside of him. Everyone hearing this gained wide eyes, including Minato. Kakashi hearing this said I see, well then I will just defeat you and make you return to Minato-sensei. Naruto laughing said, you can try. Kakashi laughing said, you have no chakra signature, a 2-year-old could defeat you with ease. He blinked when Shinju roared out in laughter. All eyes turned to her as she said Naruto-kun not have any chakra. That's hilarious. She then gaining a serious look on her face said, my boyfriend has more chakra than I do and exhales enough chakra to turn Suna into a tropical paradise when he yawns. The only reason you can't detect his chakra signature is because right now he is overwhelming his chakra, with his she taking on a thinking pose said Riatsu or Rishai. Naruto laughing said wrong Shinju. I am overwhelming my chakra with my Kai and mana. Shinju hearing this blinked and asked are you going to transform Naruto-kun? Naruto allowing his hair to overshadow his face said yes Shinju, Inu-san is about to witness the mighty power of Majin Kid Naruto. Shinju hearing this gained wide eyes and said mothers are most likely going to be watching if you do transform into that form. Naruto gaining an evil smirk on his face said good as I don't plan on staying in that form for long. Shinju hearing this blinked and wondered what Naruto was talking about. Her eyes widened when Naruto roared and started to unleash a massive amount of pink energy. Everyone watched as his body started to shrink until he was the size of your average 6-year-old. His shirt soon caught on fire and burned away revealing his chiseled upper body. Naruto lifting his head up kept charging up until an explosion of power happened and smoke obscured all vision. Suddenly demonic laughter filled the room and Shinju said hot damn he actually managed to transform into that pink monstrosity. She turning to look at a 12-year-old pink-haired girl, said kinda like her. The smoke then cleared and what replaced Naruto sent waves of fear down everyone's spine. Standing there with bright pink skin that was literally steaming was a being that looked like it was 6, but the energy it was outputting made it obvious that it wasn't harmless like most 6-year-olds. It had long black hair that was tied into a loose ponytail. It also had black eyes with pinker eyes. The creature smirking said I imagine Naruto. Fear me. It then roared and Kakashi quickly had to move, lest he be evaporated. Naruto laughing said give me everything you got little dog. Kakashi rushing forward engaged in combat. This cost him as Naruto was 10 times faster than he looked and before Kakashi even knew it, he was on the other side of the battlefield, holding his aching ribs. Kakashi panting went through hand signs and fired off a few fireballs at Naruto. To his surprise Naruto simply stood there and took each fireball. His eyes turned to circles when Naruto appeared unharmed with a crazy smirk on his face. Naruto laughing said, that was fun. My turn. Kakashi shit a brick when 2 huge fireballs appeared in Naruto's hands. Naruto laughing tossed the balls and watched as Kakashi dodged them. This continued for a few minutes until lost his smile and said time's up. I had fun dog. The transformation then was covered in a thick cloud of smoke. Shinju spotting this smirked and said so that's what you meant Naruto. She then started to laugh with glee. The reason why was revealed seconds later and a lot of shinobi blanched. The reason why, well standing in front of them was what looked like a female incarnation of Uchiha Madara. Hell it even had the Sharingan right. It smirking said behold Sake's Valentine Uchiha. The 5th incarnation of myself born from the unholy alliance of Orochimaru of the Sannin and Hanzo the Salamander. She was created from the shattered remains of an Uchiha and the blood of Ringo Amayuri. I rather like this transformation because she was just as deadly as Madara himself. Allow me to demonstrate her power at 30%. Kakashi shit a brick when a huge storm of pitch black chakra came from the woman. She smirking lifted up her fingers and said fire style, great fire annihilation. Kakashi moved quickly when 6 black dragons came soaring his way. He shifting through hand signs gained wide eyes when she appeared in front of him with her gun by in mid-swing. Swinging she said too slow. He was blasted back by a powerful gust of wind. He was then lifted into the air by a more powerful gust of wind. She crossing her arms under her chest said, you are weak, just like the Kakashi of my dimension. Everyone gained wide eyes when a skeletal arm appeared and slapped Kakashi towards the wall. She gaining an evil smile on her face said his tortured screams were my serenade as I made sweet love to his wife and daughter. Everyone hearing this blinked. She moving her head smirked as kunai came sailing by her head. Laughing she said yes get angry. Show me your true power. Kakashi growling said I didn't want to use this until I had to, but you give me no choice. He then pushed chakra into his eye, surprised everyone when he revealed his Manjikyu Sharingan. He smirking said behold my new power. Sakes laughing said so you unlock the Manjikyu. Impressive no non-Uchiha has ever done so. She then smirking said well then allow me to show you the power of a true Uchiha. More chakra came pouring out as she said this is the power of Sakes Uchiha. Divine power. Kakashi blinked when he was wrapped in roots and couldn't move a single muscle. His eyes turned to circles when a huge meteor came down from the very heavens and looked like it was going to crush him. He closed his eyes waited for the end to come. Not feeling anything he opened his eyes and gasped as he found himself staring a regular Naruto in the eyes. Naruto laughing said game set match. You made the same mistake many fools make when they battle in Uchiha, you look me in the eyes. You have been trapped in my Jinjutsu from the very beginning. Kakashi hearing this blinked and said but if all felt so real. Shinju snorting appeared beside Naruto and said that's because unlike regular illusions, Naruto-kun's embed itself into the very soul of the target, rendering everything in the illusion true. He literally makes his illusions your reality and warps all of your truths. It's one reason why Naruto-kun is considered an S-rank threat to the shinobi world. Naruto was about to say something when a giant roar shook the ground. Naruto blinking said Zilla-chan is calling your name Shinju. Shinju crying said I hate that stupid overgrown iguana. Naruto rolling his eyes pulled out a lollipop and put it in his mouth. He smirking at Kakashi said I do hope you enjoy not reading that smut Kakashi. Bye now. He then vanished in a swirl of sakura petals. Shinju waving vanished in a swirl of rose petals. Kakashi putting his book on the ground started to cry as he was now forbidden from reading his smut ever again. Everyone else was shocked that Naruto was the long-lost son of Minato and had defeated one of the best shinobi in the village with the ease of a 3-year-old. Minato smiling said I can now get Kushina back and have my son. Kushina in the crowd was planning on begging for forgiveness from Naruto. Mito was crying tears of joy as her big brother was finally back in the village. The next day Naruto was walking through the village with a heavy scowl on his face. The reason why, well, Shinju had destroyed his candy stash the night before and now he was forced to go in the village to get some candy. He looking around was trying to find the nearest candy store but hadn't found nothing yet. He was about to turn the corner when he was glomped. He recognizing the scent of the person smiled and said, Mito-chan, it's good to see you too. He then looking down at the carbon copy of Kushina asked, you wouldn't happen to know where the candy store is, would you? Mito ending the hug shook her head and said, Konoha doesn't have a candy store, Naruto. Naruto hearing this felt his eyes widen. His body started to tremble and sweat started to roll down his forehead. He with wide eyes said, no candy store. No candy store. He then screamed, what the hell kind of major hidden village doesn't have a candy store? He then turned into a blur and was literally speeding through the village looking for a candy store or even a sweet shop. He was quickly losing hope as nothing came up. Mito, who was attached to Naruto, screamed out, Naruto, slow down, we have a cinnamon bun store that sells cakes. Naruto stopped hearing this and instantly asked, where is it? Mito quickly leading him to the store said, my friend Hinata comes here all the time, she loves cinnamon buns. She blinked when Naruto was handing the clerk a pile of cash. He with hearts for eyes said, I'll take 3 of everything. The clerk blinking shrugged, accepted the money and started to gather what Naruto ordered. Once Naruto had all of his items, he reached into the bag and pulled out a cinnamon bun. Biting into it, his face blanched. He spitting the treat out said, why in the 9 rings of hell is this thing bitter? The clerk blinking said, because Hokage-sama and the council banned all sweet foods after Mitarashi Anko went on a sugar-induced rampage. Naruto hearing this started to hyperventilate. He then screamed and once again became a literal blur, this time summoning a powerful tornado with him. He tore through the town, making people scream and seek shelter. Naruto stopping 5 minutes later was on top of the Hokage monument. He grabbing his head screamed, Shinju. He then started to curse up a literal storm and was soon causing other natural disasters to appear in the village. Shinju feeding Zilla snickered and said, you'll thank me for this later, Naruto-kun. Zilla snapping her mouth closed on a fish, roared. Later Naruto and Shinju were both sitting in the council room as Minato had called a council meeting. Naruto looked tense and jittery, like at any moment he was going to snap. Shinju looked tired and irritated, like she hadn't slept in months. Minato, once everyone was there, said, good, now that everyone is here we can start the meeting. I called this council meeting to make Naruto return to the Namikaze family and give all his power to the village. Also to make him a genin instead of a jonin. Naruto licking his lips said, I'm not a Namikaze anymore, nitwit. I'm a Senju and the son of 2 goddesses. He turning his head asked, did you hear that? Shinju shaking her head said, ignore almost everything that comes out of his mouth. He's suffering from symptoms of sugar withdrawal. Zoom standing up coughed and said, I don't think that's a good idea. Hokage-sama as Naruto-san has proven to be powerful enough to destroy everyone in the village with his eyes closed. Many others agreed with her statement, including the 3 elders. The civilian standing up said, we agree with you, Hokage-sama. The little brat should be forced into the Namikaze family and give all his power to Sasuke-kun. Minato smirked at this, as there were more civilians than shinobi. Shinju snorting said, you foolish ninja are forgetting that it doesn't really matter what you say. The only people who have even a slight chance at telling Naruto-kun what to do are our mothers and they'd sooner let Madara destroy this village than make Naruto go back to the Namikaze family. She then smirking said, as for the power thing, Naruto's power is his own and only he can control it. That little prick you want him to give his power to would be turned into a sniveling worm as soon as a drop of Naruto's power touched his system. Naruto was about to twitch when the ground started to shake. Shinju blinked and then started to curse. The reason why was revealed seconds later when a very large pink bunny burst from the floor. In its mouth was a giant bag of candy. Naruto, spotting the candy, was on the top of the bunny's head in seconds, sucking on a blueberry lollipop. Naruto sighing said, Shinju-chan is right. Sasuke Uchiha would be reduced to worm food as soon as a nanometer of my infinite energy touched him. I am not going back under the control of Namikaze Minato, and if he tries something like this again, I will turn him a giant carrot and let Alice-chan here eat him for lunch. He then pulling the lollipop out of his mouth turned to Shinju and said, Shinju, if you ever try something like this again, I will inform mother just who broke the statue of Trigon all 3 times. Shinju blanched hearing this and said, Naruto-kun, you wouldn't do that, you love me right? Naruto snorting said, try to remove my candy from me again and we'll find out. He then looking down at Alice sighed and said, okay Alice-chan, for bringing daddy his candy, you may dig more holes in his garden and consume his carrots. Alice chirped and buried herself in the ground, leaving Naruto floating where she had just been. Naruto shaking his head said, that's what I get for creating a giant fire-breathing rabbit on my 10th birthday. He then shrugging appeared beside Shinju and said, maybe it's time I created something else, after all my birthday is coming up and mothers will surely throw me a giant party like each year. Shinju hearing this gained stars in her eyes and said chocolate-covered peanuts, chocolate-covered raisins, chocolate-covered cereal, chocolate-covered ants, double-dipped dark chocolate cake. She licked her lips and said Naruto-kun give me some chocolate. Naruto laughing said, and there's your addiction. Chocolate. If it's covered in chocolate you'll eat it, no matter what it is. He pulling out a chocolate lollipop tossed it to Shinju who had it in her mouth in one go. Naruto laughing said well then since this meeting is pretty much over, I guess we will take our leave. He and Shinju then vanished. Naruto appearing at his favorite ramen stand smiled and said, let me get 10 bowls of miso ramen with a side order of chicken dumplings. AM spotting Naruto smiled and said coming right up Naruto-kun. Naruto turning to Shinju asked so do you think we'll get a group of genin? Shinju removing her lollipop said next year we will and he'll most likely try to make us teach the Uchiha. Naruto snorting said you have a better chance of Kurara not blowing smoke on you. Shinju snorting said you know one of these days I'm going to show that overgrown lizard just who the boss is. Naruto laughing said the both of you already know who the boss is. Shinju quirking an eyebrow asked really who is it? Naruto giving her a deadpan look said the person who kicks your ass every time you spar, the person who could and has destroyed entire civilizations because they hurt you, the person who can literally reshape the galaxy with a small burst of his mighty power. The person who makes all supernatural beings tremble in fear, the person who all women lust after. The person who not only rode a lightning bolt but crashed said lightning bolt into the sea and fried the kraken alive in one day. Shinju giggling said I love it when you brag about yourself Naruto-kun. It makes me so happy. Naruto rolling his eyes said of course you do. That's the reason behind this entire spin in our conversation. Shinju taking a bowl of ramen asked so what mission do you want to take care of first? Naruto now digging into a bowl of ramen himself said, we need to end the war in Kiri, as all of the senseless deaths are really starting to agitate Kurara. Shinju gaining a serious face said that's why she's been so snappy and ready to attack. Naruto gaining a serious look on his face now said yeah. Kurara is bonded with death and anytime something dies she feels it. The number of deaths over in Kiri is staggering. It's getting to the point that it's affecting me. Hell it's the reason why I've been eating so much candy. Shinju eating her second bowl said right I forgot that you're the beacon that all life has to go through when it dies. Naruto nodding said I'm also the only living being carrying the Z virus that can transform a living being into a zombie. Shinju hearing this said Naruto-kun you're more fucked up than the Joker. Naruto smiling asked if I'm fucked up, what does that make you for loving me? Shinju giggling said I'm just as fucked up as you are my love. We're just two fucked up kids in love, running from the sun. Naruto laughing asked who was it that said that? Shinju with a gorgeous smile on her face said you did my love. Those are the exact words that came out of your mouth on our first date. The waiter asked who we were and you said that. He looked at you funny at first but then shook his head and said I feel you little man. We're all just kids running from the sun. Naruto laughing said he was such a hippie. It's a shame his wife killed him and their entire family. Shinju shaking her head said she said that if she couldn't have him then no one would. Naruto sighing said that's why you never mix happy grass with brain killers. Shinju laughing said marijuana and shrooms are a party on their own, mixing them together was asking for a disaster to happen. Naruto eating his fifth bowl of ramen said yeah, now let's get home, I need a nap and you still have to attend to Zilla. Shinju downing her last bowl of ramen put some money on the table and said yeah. Let's go already. Naruto was about to teleport the two of them home when Yuago walked inside of the ramen stand with Anko and Kurenai. All three of them glumped Naruto, Anko nuzzling his face, said Naruto you little baka you had us worried vanishing without a trace for so long. Naruto I smiling nuzzled Anko back and said I missed you Anko-chan. Not even Shinju can talk smack like you can. He then tilting his head said, although she's very good at making people blush. Shinju smirking said so this is the infamous Anko-chan. She looking Anko over licked her lips and said Naruto-kun said you were amazing. He said nothing about you being so curvy. Anko blinked and then smirked. She looking at Naruto said baka, I like your girlfriend. Naruto rolling his eyes said of course you do, the two of you could practically be the same person. He pulling out a purple lollipop put it in his mouth and said I still sometimes think that Anko missed me so much she split her personality in two and created Shinju who bonded with the power of the tree and wham Shinju is created. Kurenai shaking her head said, you know it could have been me or Yuago who missed you so much that we created another personality. Naruto running a hand through his hair said because if one of you had created another personality, I wouldn't be able to get away with half of the stupid inane shit that I pull. Anko hearing this pouted and asked are you saying that I'm a bad influence? Naruto snorting said Anko-chan if you're a good influence, then Kurara-chan and Shinju-chan aren't engaged in a war for my love. Shinju giggling said insane yes. What if Naruto is neglected by family trained by Gogeta and thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys next video.